How did your psycho ex become so obsessed with you they ruined their own life? I broke up with Vanessa after 8 months because she got too intense. She'd text me 40 times a day, show up at my apartment unannounced, and once drove 3 hours to crash my friend's birthday party because I didn't invite her. When I finally ended things, she cried for 2 hours in my living room, then left without saying a word. I thought that was the end of it. For the first month after the breakup, Vanessa went completely silent. No texts, no calls, no social media stalking that I could detect. My friends said I got lucky, that she'd moved on. Then I started noticing her car. It was parked outside my gym on a Tuesday morning. Same silver Honda, same license plate, but Vanessa never went to gyms. She used to complain about how much I worked out. I figured it was a coincidence until I saw her car outside my office building 3 days later, then outside the coffee shop I went to every Saturday, then in my apartment complex parking lot at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday. But here's the weird part. Vanessa never approached me, never tried to talk. She'd just be there, sitting in her car, staring straight ahead like she was waiting for something. When I'd walk past, she wouldn't even look at me. It was like I wasn't the point. My roommate Jake said I should get a restraining order, but I wasn't sure what I'd even report. She wasn't threatening me, wasn't contacting me, wasn't doing anything illegal. She was just existing in the same spaces I existed in. Then things got stranger. Vanessa got a job at the marketing firm 2 floors below my office. I found out when I saw her in the building elevator wearing a visitor badge, then a week later with a permanent ID. She'd quit her job as a school counselor, a career she'd spent 6 years building, to work entry-level marketing in my building. She started going to my gym. I'd see her on the treadmill, but she'd barely use it, just walk slowly for 5 minutes, then leave. She joined my rock climbing group, showed up to the Monday night session and signed the waiver, even though she'd told me 100 times that heights terrified her. But she never climbed, just sat in the corner on her phone. My friends started asking why my ex was following me around, and I didn't have an answer because Vanessa's behavior didn't make sense for someone who wanted me back. She never tried to talk to me, never smiled or waved. She'd look right through me like I was invisible. Then I started hearing things about her life falling apart. My friend Casey, who knew Vanessa from college, told me Vanessa had stopped showing up to family dinners. Her parents were worried. She'd canceled her vacation plans, stopped posting on Instagram. Her best friend Sophia called me, asking if I knew what was wrong with Vanessa because she'd been ignoring everyone's messages for weeks. I checked Vanessa's social media, and it was bizarre. She'd deleted every photo of herself, every post. Her Instagram was just empty now, like she was erasing her entire identity. Her Facebook showed she'd quit the marketing job after only 3 weeks. Someone commented asking if she was okay, and she'd replied, "Just making room for what matters." I saw her at the grocery store on a Sunday, and she looked terrible, like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was greasy, pulled back in a messy bun. She was wearing clothes I recognized as mine, or at least clothes that looked exactly like things I owned. A gray hoodie I had, black jeans in the same style, even the same brand of sneakers. She saw me staring and smiled for the first time since the breakup. Not a warm smile, something else. Then she turned and walked away. That night, Jake told me he'd seen Vanessa's car parked outside our building every single night for the past 2 weeks. He'd been tracking it. She'd show up around midnight and sit there until 4 or 5 a.m., then leave. He wanted to call the cops, but I said wait, because something about this didn't feel like obsession. It felt like something else entirely. 2 days later, I got a call from Detective Morrison. He said he needed to ask me some questions about Vanessa Hayes and whether I'd noticed any unusual behavior recently. When I asked why, his answer made everything click into place. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. What unusual behavior? I asked Detective Morrison, gripping my phone tighter. My heart is racing as I stand in my kitchen, staring at the half-empty coffee mug I'd abandoned when the call came in. "Mr. Reynolds, I think this is a conversation we should have in person. Could you come down to the station this afternoon?" 2 hours later, I'm sitting across from Detective Morrison in a small interview room. He's older than I expected, maybe mid-50s with salt and pepper hair and tired eyes that have seen too much. He slides a manila folder across the table. "There was a break-in at your office building last night," he says, opening the folder to reveal security camera stills. "Nothing of monetary value was taken, but the intruder accessed your floor specifically. The images show a familiar figure in dark clothing moving through the hallway outside my office. Even with her face partially obscured, I recognize Vanessa immediately. That's her," I say, my mouth suddenly dry. "That's Vanessa." Detective Morrison nods. "We have her on camera entering your office and removing several items from your desk. Personal items, not company property." He slides another photo across the table. "She took your coffee mug, a framed photo of your family, and what appears to be a notebook." I remember that notebook. It contained meeting notes, but also random thoughts, doodles, even a few personal journal entries I'd written during particularly boring conference calls. "We obtained a warrant to search Miss Hayes' apartment this morning," Detective Morrison continues. "What we found was concerning." He shows me more photos, and I feel the blood drain from my face. One entire room of Vanessa's apartment has been transformed into what can only be described as a shrine. My stolen coffee mug sits on a shelf alongside other items I hadn't even realized were missing. A gym towel with my initials, a spare key I thought I'd lost, even mail that must have disappeared from my box. "There's more," Detective Morrison says, his voice softening slightly. "The walls are covered with photographs of you, hundreds of them, taken from various locations, outside your apartment, at the gym, even through your window at night. My skin crawls as I flip through the images. There I am, getting coffee, working out, walking to my car, sleeping in my own bed. The photos span weeks, maybe months. How did she get these?" I whisper. "Miss Hayes appears to have quit her marketing job after just 3 weeks," he explains. "According to her former supervisor, she claimed a family emergency, but based on the evidence we've gathered, she's been following you full-time. Your schedule, your routines, your habits, she's documented all of it." He shows me a calendar found in Vanessa's apartment. Every hour of my day is meticulously recorded. When I wake up, when I leave for work, which coffee shop I visit on which day, when I go to the gym, what I order for for takeout. The level of detail is horrifying. There's something else you should see, Detective Morrison says, hesitating before sliding another photo across the table. It's a picture of my bedroom wall, but something's off. It takes me a moment to realize it's not actually my bedroom. It's a recreation in Vanessa's apartment. She's painted the walls the same color, hung the same artwork, even positioned the furniture identically to mine. We found receipts showing she purchased exact duplicates of your furniture, Morrison explains. She's been creating a mirror image of your living space in her apartment. My stomach churns. Why would she do this? That's what we're trying to understand, he says. This goes beyond typical stalking behavior. Miss Hayes appears to be studying you, learning everything about your life in extreme detail. I think about all those times I saw her car, how she never approached me, never tried to talk. She wasn't trying to reconnect. She was observing, documenting, becoming familiar with every aspect of my existence. We found her journals, Morrison continues. She writes about the project, that's what she calls it. She describes quitting her counseling job because it interfered with your schedule. She couldn't be in two places at once, and following you became her priority. He shows me excerpts from Vanessa's writings, and each page is more disturbing than the last. She details my morning routine down to the minute, notes which brand of toothpaste I use, how I take my coffee, which shirt I wear on which day of the week. Is she in custody? I ask, my voice barely audible. Morrison shakes his head. Not yet. We have officers looking for her now. The warrant was executed while she was out, but we believe she may have been alerted somehow. Her car was spotted near your apartment complex about an hour ago. A chill runs through me as I remember Jake's words about Vanessa's car being outside our building every night. She watches me sleep, I say, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. We believe so, Morrison confirms. There was sophisticated recording equipment in her apartment. Some of the footage shows your bedroom at night. I push the photos away, unable to look at them anymore. The invasion of privacy feels visceral, like something's been stolen from me that I can never get back. What happens now? I ask. We need your full statement about Miss Hayes' behavior since your breakup. Every interaction, every sighting, anything unusual you've noticed. And I strongly recommend you stay somewhere else tonight, somewhere she wouldn't know about. As I begin telling Detective Morrison everything, the car sightings, the job change, the gym appearances, the rock climbing group, I realize how methodical Vanessa's behavior has been. Not the chaotic actions of someone desperate to reconnect, but the calculated moves of someone with a much more disturbing objective. One more thing, Morrison says as I finish my statement. We found this in her apartment. He shows me a final photo. It's a driver's license with my name on it, but Vanessa's photo. She's done something to her hair to make it look like mine, wearing clothes identical to what I wear. What is she trying to do? I whisper. That, says Detective Morrison grimly, is exactly what we need to find out before she tries to take this project of hers to its next phase. Detective Morrison calls me early the next morning. I'm staying at a motel on the outskirts of town, a place Jake found for me that wouldn't be on Vanessa's radar. The room smells like stale cigarettes and industrial cleaner, but at least I don't feel watched here. We found her documentation, Morrison says, his voice grim. It's extensive. I sit on the edge of the bed, my stomach nodding. What kind of documentation? Miss Hayes kept detailed logs of your movements, time-stamped entries, color-coded by location, work, home, gym, social outings. She's been tracking you for at least 6 weeks, possibly longer. I think about all those times I felt eyes on me but dismissed it as paranoia. That explains why she always seemed to show up wherever I was. There's more, Morrison hesitates. We found video files on her laptop, 87 hours of footage showing you asleep in your bedroom. The room spins slightly. 87 hours? How did she? She appears to have installed wireless cameras in your apartment during a time when you were out. Small ones, hidden in light fixtures, air vents, even inside your alarm clock. I glance around the motel room, suddenly paranoid about hidden cameras here too. Jesus, that's insane. We're still processing everything, but there's something else you should know. Morrison's voice drops lower. We found evidence that Miss Hayes created several social media accounts impersonating you. What? I don't understand. Fake profiles with your name, your photos. She's been using them to contact your friends for the past month. A cold realization washes over me. Wait, is that why Casey hasn't been returning my calls? And why my college friends suddenly stopped inviting me to things? It appears so. We found message logs where she, posing as you, sent increasingly hostile messages to your social circle, canceling plans rudely, making offensive comments, pushing people away. I think about how isolated I felt lately, how friends had been drifting away without explanation. She was cutting me off from everyone. Classic isolation tactic, Morrison confirms. Make the target dependent, alone, vulnerable. My phone buzzes with a text from Jake. Call me now. Emergency. I tell Morrison I need to go and immediately dial Jake. Dude. Jake's voice is breathless, panicked. She's here, in our building. What? Where? The maintenance room in the basement. I went down to check why our hot water was out, and I found her living there, like actually living there. My heart pounds against my ribs. What do you mean, living there? She has a sleeping bag, food, toiletries, and pictures of you everywhere. There's a maintenance uniform hanging up. I think she's been disguising herself as building staff. Did she see you? No. I backed out quietly. But man, there's a laptop down there with a split screen showing feeds from different rooms in our apartment. She's been watching us 24/7. I relay this to Detective Morrison in a follow-up call, and within 20 minutes, police officers are swarming our apartment building. They find the maintenance room exactly as Jake described, but Vanessa is gone. What they do find chills me to the bone. A wall calendar marking out what she calls the transition plan. Today's date is circled in red with the words "Become him" written in bold letters. Detective Morrison shows me photos of the room on his phone when I meet him at the station later. The maintenance room has been transformed into a command center of sorts. Multiple monitors displaying different camera feeds from my apartment. A desk covered with notes about my habits, preferences, even the brands of toiletries I use. We found these too, Morrison says, showing me printouts of social media messages. I scroll through conversations where I told my friend Casey that I thought she was pathetic and needed to stop clinging to our friendship. Another where I told told my rock climbing group I was quitting because they were all amateurs beneath my skill level. No wonder everyone's been avoiding me, I murmur. They all think I've turned into a complete asshole. Morrison nods grimly. She was systematically destroying your relationships, creating a situation where you'd be isolated and vulnerable. But why? What's the endgame here? He slides one more document across the table. It's a printout of an email Vanessa sent to her work, using my name, accepting a job offer I never applied for. We think she was planning to gradually replace you, Morrison says quietly. Take over your life piece by piece until she could step into it completely. The realization makes me physically ill. All those times she was mimicking my clothes, my hairstyle, it wasn't just obsession, it was rehearsal. There's one more thing you need to see, Morrison says, pulling out his phone. This was recorded on her laptop camera yesterday. The video shows Vanessa sitting in front of her computer, staring directly into the camera. She's wearing my clothes, styled her hair like mine, and when she speaks, she's perfectly mimicking my speech patterns, my mannerisms, even the slight head tilt I do when I'm thinking. Hey, I'm Kieran Reynolds, she says in an uncanny imitation of my voice. I'm 28 years old. I work in marketing at Stellar Communications. My favorite color is navy blue. I'm allergic to shellfish. My mother's name is Diana. My father's name is Robert. I have a younger sister named Ellie, who lives in Portland. Every detail is correct. Every fact about my life recited perfectly. She's been studying me like I'm a character she needs to play. We need to find her, I say, my voice shaking, before she does whatever she's planning next. We've got officers at every location she might show up, Morrison assures me. Your workplace, your usual haunts, your friends' homes. We'll find her. But as I leave the station, I can't shake the feeling that Vanessa is watching me right now, learning my movements, planning her next move, and the most terrifying thought of all, what if she's already become so good at being me that the people in my life won't even notice when she takes my place? Detective Morrison calls me at 7 a.m. the next day. I'm still in the motel room, lying on top of the covers, fully dressed because I couldn't bring myself to change into pajamas. Every shadow, every sound had me jumping all night. We found her, he says, and I bolt upright. She's at the station now. We'd like you to come in. You want me to see her? My voice cracks. Is that safe? We'll have officers present the entire time, but we need to understand what's happening here, and you might be able to help us get through to her. An hour later, I'm sitting in an observation room at the police station, watching Vanessa through a one-way mirror. She looks surprisingly normal, calm, collected, wearing a simple blue blouse I've never seen before. Her hands are folded neatly on the table in front of her. She's been cooperative, Morrison explains, standing beside me. Answered basic questions, provided identification, hasn't asked for a lawyer. She seems fine, I say, confused by her demeanor. That's what concerns us. The disconnect between her behavior and what we found in her apartment, in the maintenance room. We'd like you to talk to her. My stomach drops. You want me to go in there? With her? I'll be with you the entire time, Morrison assures me. We need to understand what she thinks she's doing. This project of hers. I take a deep breath and nod. As we enter the interview room, Vanessa's eyes light up at the sight of me. Kieran, she says warmly, as if we're meeting for coffee. I was wondering when they'd let me see you. I sit across from her, Morrison taking the chair beside me. The fluorescent lights make Vanessa's skin look pale, almost translucent. Vanessa, I begin, my voice steadier than I feel. What have you been doing? She tilts her head, my head tilt, and smiles. I've been trying to understand you better. By breaking into my apartment, installing cameras, following me everywhere, I needed to study you properly. After you ended things, I realized I didn't truly know you. That's why you left, because I wasn't seeing the real you. Morrison clears his throat. Miss Hayes, we found extensive documentation in your apartment. Notes about Mr. Reynolds' daily activities, recordings of him sleeping. Can you explain the purpose of those? Vanessa maintains her pleasant expression, answering as if discussing the weather. Research requires thorough documentation. I couldn't miss anything important. Research for what? I ask. For understanding why we didn't work. She leans forward slightly. At first, I thought if I just knew more about you, I could fix what went wrong. But then I realized it was deeper than that. Morrison opens a folder. Let's talk about what you call the project. Can you tell us what that is? Something shifts in Vanessa's expression, subtle but unmistakable. Her posture straightens, her eyes sharpen, and when she speaks again, her voice has changed, not just in tone, but in cadence, in inflection, in my inflection. The project is about becoming, she says, and I feel a chill run down my spine because she sounds exactly like me. Not an impression, not mimicry. She sounds exactly like recordings of my own voice. Becoming what? Morrison asks. Not what. Who? She turns to me, and I see something terrifying in her eyes, a complete absence of boundaries between us in her mind. I needed to understand why you rejected me. The only way to truly understand was to become you, to experience life as you do. I notice now that the blue blouse she's wearing is cut in the same style as one I own. Her hair, though different in color, is styled exactly like mine. Even the way she's sitting, one ankle crossed over the other knee, is my habitual posture. That's why you were wearing my clothes, I say quietly. Why you were copying my speech patterns. She nods, pleased, like a teacher with a quick student. It started with external things, your clothes, your hairstyle, but that wasn't enough. I needed to understand how you think, how you feel, how you experience the world. So you bugged my apartment, Morrison interjects, recorded Mr. Reynolds sleeping. I needed to see everything, she says, still in my voice, my rhythm, how he sleeps, how he dreams, what he says when he thinks no one's listening. And the social media accounts? I ask, why were you pushing my friends away while pretending to be me? Your social connections were distractions, she explains, as if it's perfectly logical. I needed to isolate the variables to study you properly. Too many outside influences contaminated the data. Like, Morrison slides a journal across the table, one of the ones found in her apartment. Can you explain this entry from last week? You wrote, the final phase begins tomorrow. After the transition, there will be only one. Vanessa's smile widens, and she looks directly at me with an expression of such intimate familiarity that I have to fight the urge to recoil. That's when I realize the truth, she says softly. I don't need to understand you. I need to become you. replace you. Do it better. Replace me? My voice barely works. You're not living your life correctly, she explains, leaning forward. I've studied you so completely now that I understand what you're doing wrong. The mistakes you make, the opportunities you miss. I can be a better version of you than you are. She reaches across the table, and I instinctively pull back. Morrison shifts in his seat, ready to intervene, but Vanessa just lays her palm flat on the table. Your friends already prefer talking to me as you, she continues. I'm more attentive, more thoughtful. I remember details about their lives that you forget. I'm a better Kieran than you are. Morrison speaks carefully. Miss Hayes, are you saying you intended to take over Mr. Reynolds' identity? Not his identity, she corrects, still using my speech patterns perfectly. His existence, his life, his essence. She turns to me. You rejected me as Vanessa, but you can't reject me when I'm you. My skin crawls at the absolute conviction in her voice. This isn't a delusion to her. It's a methodical plan she's been executing step by step. We found something else in your apartment, Morrison says, pulling out another photo. Can you explain this? It's a picture of a wall in her apartment covered with photos of my family, my parents, my sister Ellie, with notes about their personalities, preferences, birthdays. Family integration was phase 4, she says matter-of-factly. I've already had 3 conversations with Ellie where she thought she was texting you. She didn't notice any difference. I feel sick remembering how Ellie had mentioned texting me about her job interview last week, a conversation I never had with her. Your mother's birthday is coming up, Vanessa continues. You always forget to send a card until the last minute. I already mailed one last week with a thoughtful note about the gardening class she's taking. Morrison glances at me, and I nod slightly, confirming this detail about my mother that Vanessa couldn't have known without extensive research. Miss Hayes, Morrison says, his voice firm but gentle. What you're describing is not possible. You cannot become another person. Vanessa's expression doesn't change, but something cold flashes in her eyes. I already have. Ask him. She nods toward me. Ask him if he recognized the difference between his texts and mine when I was messaging his friends. Ask him if anyone noticed when I called his sister pretending to be him. No one can tell us apart anymore. As she speaks, I notice she's unconsciously mirroring my body language, matching my breathing rhythm. It's like watching myself through a distorted mirror. Morrison signals to the officer at the door, who steps out briefly and returns with another folder. He places it in front of Morrison, who opens it slowly. We found this journal hidden in the air vent of your bathroom, he says, turning it toward Vanessa. Can you explain these entries? I catch a glimpse of the page. Detailed notes on how to dispose of a body, how to create the impression someone has moved away suddenly without arousing suspicion. Vanessa's expression doesn't change, but she stops speaking in my voice pattern. When she answers, she's back to her normal cadence. That's not part of the project, she says quietly. That was just contingency planning. Contingency for what? Morrison presses. She looks at me, and for the first time, I see something other than that eerie calm in her eyes. A flash of frustration, of anger. In case you refuse to step aside, she says simply. But I don't think that will be necessary now. The interview continues for another hour, but Vanessa reveals little more about her plans. As we finally leave the room, Morrison places a hand on my shoulder. We'll be charging her with multiple felonies, he says. Breaking and entering, stalking, identity theft, and based on those journal entries, conspiracy to commit murder. She'll be undergoing psychiatric evaluation, but she won't be free anytime soon. I nod but can't shake the chill that settled over me during that interview. She really believes she can become me. It's an extreme case of obsessive behavior, Morrison explains as we walk down the hallway. The forensic psychiatrist I spoke with suggested it might be a form of delusional misidentification syndrome, complicated by obsessive-compulsive tendencies. Will she get help? Morrison sighs. Yes, but cases like this, they're complicated. The level of planning, the systematic approach, it suggests she's been developing these patterns for a long time. As I'm about to leave the station, an officer approaches with an evidence bag. Detective Morrison thought you should see this. It was found in Miss Hayes' wallet. Inside is a small, worn photograph of me as a teenager, one I've never seen before. On the back, written in faded ink, target acquired, project begins. The date written below is from 10 years ago, long before I ever met Vanessa. The psychiatric facility is all white walls and soft lighting. It's been 2 weeks since Vanessa was taken into custody, and this is my first time seeing her since that terrifying interview at the police station. She sits across from me in the visitation room, wearing pale blue scrubs that make her look smaller somehow. The confident woman who perfectly mimicked my speech patterns is gone, replaced by someone who stares at her hands and barely makes eye contact. Thank you for coming, doctor, Winters says, adjusting her glasses. Miss Hayes has made some progress, but seeing you under controlled circumstances may help her understand the boundaries she's violated. Vanessa looks up briefly, then back down at her hands. The restraints around her wrists seem unnecessary given how subdued she appears, but Detective Morrison insisted they were standard protocol for someone who had shown homicidal ideation. Has she said anything about why she did all this? I asked Dr. Winters quietly. She's been cooperative with treatment, but her explanation remains consistent with what you heard in the interview. She believes she could literally become you. Dr. Winters glances at her notes. The psychological breakdown occurred shortly after she was brought here. When she realized she wouldn't be able to continue what she calls the project, she experienced acute distress. I study Vanessa's face, searching for any trace of the person who terrorized me for months. Is she still trying to be me? No. The separation from your life and possessions has helped break that particular delusion. But Mr. Reynolds, there's something you should know. Doctor. Winters lowers her voice. Miss Hayes' family came forward with information after her arrest. This isn't the first time she's exhibited this behavior. My stomach drops. What do you mean? According to her parents, there were 2 previous incidents in college and shortly after. Both involved men she dated briefly. Nothing escalated to this level, but there were similar patterns. Excessive documentation, mimicry, obsessive tracking. The door opens and a middle-aged couple enters, the woman's eyes red from crying, the man's face tight with stress. I recognize them from photos in Vanessa's apartment. Her parents. Mr. Reynolds, the father said, says, extending his hand. I'm Robert Hayes, this is my wife, Linda. We wanted to apologize in person. I shake his hand automatically, still processing what Dr. Winters just told me. You knew about this? About what she was doing? Linda Hayes wipes her eyes. Not the extent, no, but we knew Vanessa had difficulties with boundaries and relationships. After what happened with Jason in college, we insisted she get help. Jason? The name sounds vaguely familiar. Her boyfriend sophomore year, Robert explains, his voice heavy with regret. She became fixated on him after they broke up, started dressing like him, using his mannerisms. His roommate found her in their dorm room wearing his clothes. And there was Michael after college, Linda adds. She followed him to another state when he moved. We thought the therapy had helped after that. She seemed stable for years. I think about the photo found in Vanessa's wallet, the one dated 10 years ago, long before we met. Did she ever talk about someone from 10 years back? Someone she might have been. Watching, the parents exchange a glance. There was a boy in her high school she was interested in, Linda says carefully, but nothing came of it. At least, that's what she told us. Dr. Winters makes a note. We'll explore that in her therapy sessions. A soft knock at the door, and a familiar face appears. Sophia, Vanessa's best friend. Her eyes are puffy, and she looks like she hasn't slept in days. I'm sorry to interrupt, she says. They told me I could join. I haven't seen Sophia since before all this happened. She hovers near the door, clearly unsure of her welcome. Come in, I say, surprised by my own response. Sophia sits beside Vanessa, who acknowledges her with a slight nod, but nothing more. I need to apologize to you, Sophia says, looking directly at me. I saw the signs. I knew something wasn't right with how obsessed she was becoming with you, but I didn't say anything. What signs? Morrison had mentioned Sophia during our initial conversations, but never elaborated. The way she talked about you, like you were this perfect being she needed to understand completely. She started dressing differently, using phrases you used. Sophia swallows hard. Then she started canceling plans to follow your schedule instead. When she quit her counseling job to work at your building, I knew it was unhealthy, but you didn't want to betray your friend. I finish for her. She nods miserably. Then she showed me the notebooks. Pages and pages of observations about you, your coffee order, your gym routine, what brand of deodorant you use. I told her it was crossing a line, and she stopped talking to me about it. I should have told someone. Dr. Winters interjects gently. Hindsight makes these patterns clearer. The important thing now is that Miss Hayes gets the help she needs. Will she get better? I ask, the question directed at no one in particular. With proper treatment, yes, Dr. Winters says. The court has ordered mandatory psychiatric care as part of her sentence. She'll remain here until she's stabilized, then likely transition to a secure residential facility. Detective Morrison enters the room, nodding to me. Mr. Reynolds, I have an update for you. We step into the hallway, and he hands me a folder. The judge granted the permanent restraining order this morning, 5 years, with the option to renew. She won't be allowed within 500 feet of you, your home, or your workplace once she's released from treatment. And when will that be? Not for a long time. Between the breaking and entering charges, stalking, identity theft, and the conspiracy charges from those journal entries, she's looking at a minimum of 3 years in a secure facility, followed by strict supervised release. I open the folder and scan the restraining order, the legal language making Vanessa's obsession seem clinical, manageable. What about all my stuff she took? My personal items? Evidence for now. Once the case is fully processed, you can reclaim anything you want, though. He hesitates. Many victims in these situations prefer not to. I think about my coffee mug, my family photos, my clothes, all contaminated by her obsession. I'll probably just let it go. 2 months later, I'm unpacking boxes in my new apartment across town. Jake helped me find the place. 3rd floor, good security system, no maintenance room in the basement. Casey came around once. I explained what had happened with the fake social media accounts. She'd been hurt by my messages, but understood once she saw the evidence. My phone buzzes with a text from Ellie. Still can't believe that woman pretended to be you. The birthday card she sent Mom was creepy perfect. I set down the box I'm unpacking and text back. At least Mom got a card on time for once. It's a weak joke, but humor helps process the trauma. That's what my therapist says anyway. I've been seeing her twice a week since everything happened. As I unpack my kitchen supplies, I find myself checking the new coffee mug I bought for hidden cameras. I still do a sweep of my bedroom each night before sleeping. Still flinch when I see a car that resembles Vanessa's parked on my street. Dr. Winters says these reactions are normal, that they'll fade with time. I open my closet to hang up my clothes and pause, staring at the empty space. For a moment, I can see Vanessa standing there in the dark, watching me sleep, studying how to become me. I close the door quickly and lean against it, my heart racing. The restraining order is just a piece of paper. The psychiatric hold is temporary. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I know Vanessa is still there, still thinking about me, still believing she could be a better version of me than I am. I pick up my phone and scroll to Detective Morrison's number, saved in my contacts for emergencies. I don't call, but having it there makes me feel safer. This is my life now. Looking over my shoulder, checking for hidden cameras, wondering if the person texting my sister really is me this time. The psychiatrists say Vanessa's obsession will fade with treatment. The lawyers say the legal system will protect me. But I know the truth that keeps me awake at night. Once someone decides to become you, a part of you belongs to them forever.